Last night, the NYPD entered Columbia University to clear out the pro Palestinian protesters after they literally broke into a building and took it over the night before. But because it's private property, the school officials had to call the police and authorize them to come and arrest the criminals. But they didn't want to do that because, of course, they're still coddling these kids in their safe space. And so finally, almost a day later, they did have them come in because things are obviously getting way out of control. And still, instead of rounding them up and arresting them, the police gave them a warning and said, get out of the building and leave, or we are going to arrest you. But since many, if not most, college kids today are complete morons, a lot of them stuck around and decided to learn the hard way by getting arrested and undoubtedly expelled here just a few weeks before the end of the school year. But it'll come out that many, if not most of them arrested weren't even students and are just outside agitators and organizers, because there is something bigger going on here than just groups of students at college campuses now across the country all of a sudden being upset about what it is that's happening over there in Gaza. And this is not as simple as the protesters are bad, according to Fox News, and are all Hamas sympathizers, and Israel is good and can never do anything wrong ever and never has. Or if you watch MSNBC, they'll say that all of the protesters are just, bleeding heart liberals that care about the humanitarian crisis over in Gaza, and none of them support Hamas or violence at all, because that's not true. Unlike over at the Daily Wire and Fox News and most mainstream conservative media outlets and talk shows, I believe that you're allowed to question and or criticize Israel and their treatment of Palestinian civilians. And you're allowed to be sad about Palestinian loss of life and the humanitarian crisis over there in Gaza. Now, these people are not our friends. They are useful idiots, communist pawns, who don't even really know what it is that they are protesting.
What do you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something that NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU is doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
But they're there showing their support for the cause. And have you noticed how many of these morons are wearing masks? And it's not to hide their face so that they can't get recognized. They're still worried about being in crowds because of the COVID pandemic. But this woman takes the cake. She was demanding that Columbia University bring food in to the building that the students and the outside paid provocateurs took over, calling that a humanitarian crisis.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
First of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
These communist encampments and uprisings have popped up on campuses across the country, not spontaneously, obviously, but part of a well-funded and coordinated effort, using the veneer, the cover of supporting Gaza, while really the underlying mission is the communist revolution. It's Black Lives Matter with a new label. And once the school year ends here in a few weeks, they will then morph. They'll find a new Black Lives Matter saint. They will leave the college campuses. They'll start hitting the streets. And that's when things are going to really get crazy. But the University of Washington tried to organize one, and they decided to postpone it because there were too many white students who showed up. Students at U of W postponed their planned Gaza Solidarity encampment because it did not center on enough Muslim and Arab students. That would be like too many white people leading the Black Lives Matter movement. And so this uprising is centered around brown people.
You're just a white person. You're a white person. We don't like white people. Free Palestine!
This whole thing has become such a circus that we now have carbon-based life forms like this.
If you're a drag queen and you know it, shout Free Palestine! If you're a drag queen and you know it and you really want to show it, you're a drag queen and you know it, shout Free Palestine! Excellent.
Is he trying to get us to lose sympathy for the Palestinian people? Does he not know that he literally wouldn't survive 5 minutes in Gaza? But don't be fooled by clowns like him, because the mainstream conservative media and most of the mainstream conservative personalities don't want people to see what it is that's happening in Gaza. Like these supposed surgical strikes that were only targeting Hamas, even though the entire city, as far as the eye can see, has been destroyed, along with numerous other regions in Gaza. Congressman Thomas Massey, a Republican from Kentucky, makes a very good point when he says there's a bipartisan effort in Congress to equate criticism of the secular state of Israel to violence towards Jewish people in America. The latter is illegal, and the former is protected speech. But if a false equivalency is established, it will be forbidden to criticize Israel. I think we all know what the unwritten rule is in mainstream conservative media, don't we, little Ben? And you're especially not supposed to talk about the anti-BDS laws, which is why you've never heard any mainstream conservative political pundit or politician ever mention them, because it's something that's supposed to just fly under the radar, which means that there are 38 different states in the United States that have laws where if a business owner criticizes Israel and they own a construction company or any kind of a company that could potentially be hired by governments to do construction jobs or electrical work or anything, then they are automatically banned from even being considered for those bids. That's right, in 38 different states in America, if you criticize a foreign country, but only one foreign country, and you're a business owner, then you aren't allowed to do business with the government. See, this is why you should subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because you're not going to find information and analysis like this anywhere else. And now, as expected, and as Joel Pollak, the editor of Breitbart News, who's Jewish, surprisingly openly called for, we are expected to now take on Israel's problems.
This news exclusively on CBS News. The Biden administration is considering a plan to allow some Palestinian refugees to come here to the United States. That's according to internal federal government documents that were obtained by CBS's Camilo Montoya Galvez.
Gee, I can't imagine how that would cause us any problems over here. Oh, wait, what's this? Oh, it's Columbia University just 48 hours ago, where protesters took over a building and then rolled out an Infantada sign, which is like a reference to a Muslim uprising. I don't know about you, but I'm getting really tired of ethnic land disputes that have been going on for generations halfway around the world, becoming a problem in my country. And if you agree and you want to support my channel and get a great shirt, head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and order your America First shirt, or get a Christ is King shirt, which the Daily Wire considers to be anti-Semitic. Or a sorry no vacancy, deport them all shirt, hey liberals, leave them kids alone shirt, or any of my awesome designs. Most available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.